Three hunters hunting at night in Texas. They come across a couple creatures they think are bears. They shoot them, track them down. They're not bears. They're not humans either. The incident freaks them out so badly that they bury the bodies. The bodies' locations has been hidden for years and years and years until now. Welcome to the channel, everybody, and if you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by and checking it out. What we have for you today is a viewer has sent in an email requesting me to find a location. He sent me a link to an interview and asked me if I could track down this location, and guess what? I've spent hours and hours and hours tracking down this location, and I have found three potential locations. The audio interview is from Coast to Coast AM. Now, I only use the audio of the hunter. I cut out all the other audio of Mr. Bell. I cut out the audio of his other guest. So sometimes the audio might sound choppy. That's because I cut out the questions. And once in a while, you may even hear the hunter's rocking chair creaking as he's talking, giving his answers. And when you guys are listening to the audio, I'm going to be showing you the three locations. I want you guys to leave me comments below, letting me know which location you think it will be. But before we get to that, do me a favor and check this out. Today's video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. And if you guys don't know, WILLSTAR is also a gamer. And lately I've been playing Raid Shadow Legends a lot. This is a true console level experience on your phone. They've really set the bar high on this one. In-game, there are millions of champion combinations that you can master, and you go through dungeons, campaign battles, PvP, arena matches, hundreds of artifacts to equip, and you can develop your own champions and raid your way through the Shadowlands. Two of the champions that I've been using since I've been playing are Ithos, he's a legendary champion, and Royal Guard, he's an epic champion. Both of them are very aggressive attack style characters, and that's the way I like to play. But there are all kinds of different characters that you could select, such as a reviver. There's a reviver named Raglan. You could also play as her. There's a lot of characters to pick from and a lot of combinations. So I'll tell you, Raid puts out a lot of new content all the time, and there's a ton happening in Raid this month, with new champions, an update to the tag arena, and a full schedule of special events and tournaments. But the main event? Raid is currently running a special Deliana Chase event where you can get your hands on the amazing Deliana, a brand new legendary champion from the High Elves faction, just by logging in. All you have to do is log in and play Raid for 7 days between now and July 20th, and you'll get Deliana for free. That's it. Deliana is one of the strongest support champions in the entire game, and you guys definitely need her to help your team get past many of Raid's tougher challenges. You don't want to miss out on her. And I'll tell you what, the gifts keep on coming to all new players for 30 days. Listen up, once you're in game, just enter the promo code MyDeliana to get your hands on everything. Simple. Get 50 XP brews to instantly get your legendary hero Deliana to max level 50, as well as a ton of silver. So you may ask, when's the best time to get started in Raid? And let me tell you, the best time is today. And if you click my link in the description or scan my QR code here on the screen, you'll get a free starter pack worth almost $40. We're talking 3 free champions at once: Misericord, Tiger Soul, and Romero, plus 10 Magic XP brews, 10 Force XP brews, 10 Spirit brews. That's huge. They only gave one champion in the past. Don't miss your last chance to get such big rewards. All this treasure will be waiting for you here, and it's that easy. Just click the link in the description, and I'll see you in the game. So this hunter, when he was giving his answers in the interview, he was trying to keep the location secret, but he was giving little clues throughout the interview, such as the road that they were on went up for miles and miles, like 20 miles up through farms until it reached the area where Elm Creek was. Also, that there were wheat fields around by the creek. And another thing was that it was like by a valley and by a rise. And the last but not least clue that he gives is where the road crosses the creek, it runs east for a while and then it turns south. So using all those clues that he's given in his interview, I went ahead and did the research and found these 3 locations. And some of you guys might say, well, you know, creeks might change courses over the years because this happened in 1976. I went back and looked at all the old satellite images as far back as 1982. And it is blurry, but you can still see where the creek channels run, and they are actually still in the same locations. So let's go ahead and get into this hunter's story.
Me and 2 of my friends, which I'll refer to as Bird Dog and Jim, were coyote bobcat hunters. Back in the middle 70s, those varmints was worth a lot of money. Well, an old bobcat would bring you anywhere from $300 to $700, and coyotes is bringing like $40-50 a piece. And then we'd go out, and to be honest with you, it was a little more than a hobby. We were real serious about it, and we hunted many, many nights all over this country. I was farming at that time. I'd gotten out of the Marines and came back home, and I was farming, and in that part of the year, this cotton country up here, so we didn't have much to do in January and February except kind of sit around. And we hunted a lot in that period of time because you had to wait until the freeze come for those pelts to cure. For some reason, and I don't know, maybe somebody can explain it to me, but an animal like a coon or a coyote or whatever, if you kill them before it comes a hard freeze, when you skin them, their pelts are blue on the inside after they dry out. If you kill them after a hard freeze, they're white. And I have no earthly idea why that is. You know, it was like in December, January, and February that we hunted a tremendous amount. And then in late February, to get into what they call the rutting season, and the animals would get mange and whatever, and they wasn't worth hunting. So about 2 months, you had prime time hunting. And me and these 2 guys, we hunted a lot. We were all 3 from Vietnam veterans, and very close friends. And we had one night we had gone. I don't know how to tell this to keep from giving the location away. If somebody knows what I'm talking about, they can find out. But anyway, we had hunted, and we back in the flatlands. So then we took this road back up north of where I'm at now, and it swung around. It runs through ranch country. It's probably 25, 30 miles, nothing but ranch land. It's within 30 miles of where I'm at right now. So anyway, we came around, and we came across this, we were going to cross this creek. It's more than a creek, but its name is Elm Creek. And we were going to cross that creek. We'd come around back north and coming down that county road through this ranch land and stuff. And these ranchers loved us because we'd get rid of the coyotes that were taking their calves. And this had to be probably 3, 4, 5 in the morning. I don't remember the exact time. Come around the bend, and then in this bottom there, just before you cross Elm Creek, we're using spotlights off the roof of the pickup, using 500-watt halogen bulbs. It would light up anything from within a half a mile. You can see where you're standing, see the ground good. Them eyes. The thing about it is, after you hunted as much as we did, you could tell by looking at a set of eyes what they were. If they were a cow, they were wide apart and they were red. If they were a coyote, they were narrow and they were more blue-red. I mean, it just, after a period of time, you knew what, you could look in that scope and you knew what was there. But anyway, we come around this bend and come up over this rise, and there was a wheat field out in front of us, and just before we crossed this creek, and it was a valley down in there, and there's probably, I'd say it's has wheat land right there. There's probably a quarter mile or so wide from that road to the creek, and it's probably about a mile long. It runs alongside that creek, and it's flat and has that. And we come around this bend, and up and over a little hill and dropped into this valley. Well, just as we dropped into this valley, our lights picked up a set of eyes. And I hit the brakes. I was driving, and Bird Dog, he come out on the side. He had a 300 Weatherly Magnum, and he come across the top. I said, "What you got?" And he says, "I don't know. That ain't something I ever seen before." Well, it just sat there, 2 eyes. They were furious red, the reddest eyes I've ever seen in my life under those lights. We knew it wasn't a deer because of the eyes, my scope on it, and I could see whatever it was crouching. And so Bird Dog, he got out and leaned over the hood of the pickup where he could get him a good shot. And Jim, he come up over the top of the cab, and I don't even remember what kind of, I think he was using a 270, I don't remember for sure. But he lined up over the cab, and I was sitting there, and we just had both these spotlights on this varmint there. I said, "I don't know what it is," and they don't either. And I said, "Well, it sure ain't nothing we know about it. Let's take it." And all 3 of us fired at the same time. And all of a sudden, this thing got up, and it must have been 7, 8 foot tall at least. I don't know. Scared the heck out of us. Started running. And, well, we all loaded, and we fired again. We knocked it down again. And then it run, I guess, it was probably 100, maybe 150 yards from the point we fired the first time till it hit the fence and went into that creek. And we knocked it down. It's probably 25, 30 yards from the fence. And just as it was crossing the creek, we hit it again. It was running on 2 legs, just like a human being. Did not know what it was. It was hunched over. It really wasn't using its front legs, its arms, as much as it was. It wasn't standing up straight. We still thought it was, what I thought it was at first, to be honest with you, was a bear. And that's why we fired. And we all fired 3 times. But like I said, I originally thought it was a bear. I had no idea. We had done fired on it at the point in time that it was sitting out there. And once we fired, I don't know, I guess we just got a little bit gung-ho and kept shooting. But anyway, the second time we shot it, it went over the fence. Well, we went and looked. And at this point in time, we were all getting scared because we thought, well, maybe this wasn't an animal. So, like I say, it was probably 3, 4, 5 in the morning, so we decided to drive around a while. About 5:36, we went back over there, and we drove up there, and we went down, and we seen blood. So we seen some tracks, looked like a human foot, and to be honest with you, I thought, well, now we done shot a human. Now I'm getting scared. So we go on up and start following these tracks, and the creek runs from this point probably 50, 75 yards east, and then it turns back south some. Well, these tracks are going down the creek, and they come out, and they went straight on east from where the creek turned back south. About another 25, 30 yards, there was a plum thicket. And we were walking there, and we heard something in that plum thicket. I mean, it was a growl-type sound. And we kind of looked at each other, and so we decided, well, who goes in and see what it was? And again, at this point, we thought, well, it's a bear. We done found a bear up here. So I got elected. I had a .44 Magnum pistol. I climbed into the plum thickets, and I got in, probably 20 feet at the most. This thing come up at me. I mean, it couldn't have been over, I'd say, 6 or 7 feet from me. I didn't even see it until it was there. And it raised up and let out a sound. And I'm basically on my all fours in a crawl position, and I just brought my .44 up, and I started popping shells. And the first one I hit, The first one hit it. I was just aiming right at the chest, but it was not standing up at that point. It was more in a hunched, squat-type position. It had brownish red hair. It had hair on the face, completely covering the face. Its whole body was covered with hair. At that point, I just fired. It dropped down, started back up. I fired again, and it then kind of rocked and went backwards, and it come back up, and I fired again. I hit it 3 times with a 225 grain 44 Magnum hollow point, probably 6 to 8 feet, and it was down. Well, the other guys were standing guard up on top watching, and they couldn't see nothing. They heard me firing, and they yelled if I was all right, and I said, yeah, I got it. Well, they came crawling in there and where I was at, and they seen it, so we decided we'd drag it out. We got to looking, and all this thing had was 3 holes. And this was a female. You could tell it had breasts similar to a woman. It had a sexual organ similar to a woman. Facial features were different than a human being. Like I say, it was covered completely in hair. So we went back in and we found the male probably, I'd say, 8-10 foot behind where she was at. He was dead. So we drug him out. We laid him out side by side. The male was probably 6 to 8 inches taller than a female, estimating the male to probably be 8 foot plus, female 7 plus. So we looked at him. We got scared because, like I said, in the male, he had sexual organs like a human. We looked at their teeth. They were not human-type teeth. I can't say that they were an ape. I can't say that they were a human. They had the features of a human overall, but the details were not. You got to remember something. At that point in time, we were making our living basically hunting. There was many a night that I went out and I made $1,000 in a night. I mean, there was one night, my biggest night ever. We killed 3 bobcats, 7 coyotes, and 18 coons, and we had $2,400 the next day. I've never seen nothing on this earth that looks like them. Their heads, they have a nose similar to a human. Their mouths appear to be more ape. Their eyes are sunken back in their head more than human. I think if you take a human and cross it with a ape, you could probably come up with a reasonable facsimile of it. This part of the country is sandy loam, and it wasn't silt sand, but it was a sandy loam in that particular place where we buried them. It was more of a gravel type sand because it did have some rock in it because that creek was probably, from the point we buried them, the creek kind of went south, about probably 150, 200 yards, and then it turned back east, and over the period of time when we had a lot of high rains in this part of the country, it would wash silt and such in there. To be honest with you, this happened 30-plus years ago, and I have not been out there since. We thought it could be human, and we didn't want to go to jail. And there, and you're looking at the sexual organs of 2 animals that's got identical to human beings. What do you think? The biggest river in the state of Texas that I guess you might say is the Red River. This Elm Creek is a branch off of the Red River of the state of Texas. I don't know whether it was a growling or a rustling or something, but something got our attention in those bushes. It was hunched over. To be honest with you, when it was running, it looked like a bear. When it was running away from us, it looked like a bear, and I'm thinking dollar signs. That's why I fired. let me tell you something. I own a farm near this place. And I won't go out there at night because about, a year or so ago, I was out there late one evening with my dogs. They love to go out and swim in the creek. And I heard that sound, and I know they still want out there. And to be honest with you, I think they're looking for me. Well, we buried them probably, they had to be at least 4 or 5 foot deep. Hey, and let me tell you something. Like our training, we were all Vietnam vets. We know how to cover our tracks. You know something, we haven't talked in probably, I guess, 10 or 15 years. They both moved away from here. I think they both had kind of the same feeling I did. It was time to pack up and go. I mean, it wasn't that it bothered us that we killed humans, because we had done that before. You know, I mean, to take out a person, that was no big deal to us. But then, you know, when we got into this situation, I would have not have shot the female once I saw her, except I feared for my own life. I tried to block a lot of this out of my memory. And it's tough trying to draw it back up, because I knew what I had done, I realized what we'd done, and I realized that, you know, there might be consequences. The sun come up probably, I'd say, around 6 o'clock, 6:30. It was daylight. The sun wasn't up, but it was daylight enough for us to see. And when we found them, we're probably talking about the sun was just ready to peek over the top of the hill. We're talking probably 6:30, 6:45, maybe 7 o'clock. And after we found them and drug them out and everything, we're talking probably 8 o'clock. And it don't take very long to dig when you're scared. And probably within an hour, we had dug the hole and put them back, and we'd left. We swore ourselves to secrecy. You get to be old, I guess you start thinking about some things you did in your life that you need to make some corrections about. That was one of the few things that I did in my life that I'm still scared about today. Oh, yeah, tremendous amount of guilt. Because I don't know, I might have took an innocent human being's life. To be honest with you, it was just quick, knee-jerk reaction, and it was fire, because I knew that I was in danger, and I knew she was fixing to come after me. And I knew it was a matter of a millisecond. I either had to fire or I was gone, and I didn't hesitate. Red blood just like ours, quite a bit, especially hers. I mean, his. He had a big pool where he was hit, and near the heart area, I would assume. I imagine the pool of blood, I'm trying to remember now, but I would say it was probably where he was laying, and he bled probably 1.5 foot circle diameter. It's been 6 months. It was last summer. I was at my farm late one evening, and it just got dark. And I have a creek that runs into this creek that I'm talking about. And I heard, it was not a coat type howl. And it just made the hair on my back of my neck stand up, and I just felt in my heart that this had to be one of these creatures. I'm going to say they probably weighed 350 pounds. It was all we could do to move them. I have woke up at night, again in that position, firing my weapon. I mean, I went through some hairy things in Vietnam. I was with the 1st Marine Recon in Vietnam. Did a lot of LARTs, 21 days, 12 days. I know what it's all about. That don't bother me. This thing with her bothers me worst of all of them, because that's the closest I've ever come to death. Isn't it Michael Jordan that has to have size 18 shoes, or what basketball player I would say is probably in that size? There is one thing that I've never revealed to anybody about the foot of this animal. And that's why I'm very reluctant. A lot of these people talk about Bigfoot and stuff, but there is something about their feet that is different than anybody else. 6 toes. 6 toes over the creatures. I am in the Texas Panhandle. And this, like I say, this creek, Red River, runs from Arkansas up to Texas. It's the border of Texas, Oklahoma. So I'm assuming that these animals come from that direction. Where they were going, I have no idea. I couldn't see any pupils or anything like that, and just black eyes. A little larger than human eyes. The male was a little taller, like I say, probably 6, 8 inches taller, and probably weighed, I'd say 30, maybe 30 pounds more, maybe 40 something in that neighborhood. They were both extremely muscular. They didn't appear to have any what I would call human-type fat on them in their abdomen area, the mid-age bulls, or whatever you want to call it. They appeared to be just very, very muscular type people. I wanted to say people, but animals. I still kind of feel like they're people. There is no way I will go back to where that area is. There's something scares me about it. I would say, just offhand, probably a vegetarian. But then again, I don't know. Talking about a total time of me looking at these animals and burying them hour and a half, 2 hours. Their hands, I don't know how to describe them. It would be like somebody that had a pair of cowhide gloves on with hair around them, and then in their palm area, just skin type showing. Kind of, I guess you would say, a leathery type hands. And their feet, bottom of their feet was the same way. The only thing, like I say, the hands and the bottom of their feet were probably the only thing it wasn't covered with hair. And their face it wasn't completely covered with hair, but then again, we thought it was a bear. Yeah, and I thought it was a wounded bear in the bushes, and that's what we was laughing about. Who's going into the thicket to get the bear? I was the only one. I had the most high-powered pistol. Bird Dog, he had a .357, and Jim, he had a .22, and I had a .44 Magnum Ruger. And so they said, "Well, you got the big gun. You go in." I said, "Well, I want it to go." I think we fired 3 times at the first one, and I know I fired 3 times at the female. We did not see the female until I went into the thicket. Very healthy. They were very muscular. I would say they were younger animals than older ones, because they just appeared that they were younger. I hate to make this I don't know the word I'm looking for, but the equation to this to what I would say in the human factor, and this is the one thing that scared us. And I don't want anybody to take this wrong, but you have seen mentally people, their facial features and everything. That's what we thought we had done shot, was some mentally people that was living in the wild. I'll take you within, I can take you up on a hill and show you where it's at. Within probably, I would say, maximum of a quarter to half a mile away. But there is something inside of me that just will not let me go back to that spot.
So there it is. What do you folks think about that? Do you folks think that one could be true? And what do you think about the locations that I just shown you? Which one do you think it is? Leave me some comments down below. If the story is true, then the bodies can feasibly still be found. If they were buried 3 to 4 feet deep, maybe they're probably 6 to 8 feet deep now because of all the flooding and carrying other material over them. But if they were buried there, then they can still feasibly be found. There is a map that exists that the hunter made. There's 2 maps. One he sent to Art Bell of Coast to Coast AM, and one he kept for himself. Now, I'm going to leave a link in the description to the original interview on Coast to Coast, so you guys make sure you go check that out. And one final, most important thing. If there's anybody out there that is actually going to be thinking about going to look for these bodies, remember one thing. This is Texas. You must, I repeat, you must go ask for permission. You do not want to mess around in Texas. So please, after seeing this video, if somebody's going to go look, make sure you get permission from the landowner. Once again, this is Texas. We all know what that means. They don't mess around in Texas. Alright, so that's where we're going to leave it. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me. If you guys liked the video, make sure you hit the like button. Share the video for me, all that helps. And once again, leave the comments below. Let me know which location you think these bodies could be buried. And if you have an encounter that you want me to make a video of, make sure you leave me an email at WILLSTARBigfoot@AOL.com. And always remember, where there is a WILLSTAR, there is a way. And we will talk to you guys later. Take care.